Alright, what's good? So this weekend is the Mr. Olympia weekend. So I definitely have to make my prediction video. And I'm going to make it pretty simple here and just cut straight to the point when I'm making these predictions. So this is my personal opinion. And I'm going to start off with the classic physique division first. I'm not going to go too in depth here, but I'm just going to say that I see Chris Bumstead doing really well, maybe even taking it. I'm not a fan of Danny Hester's physique. I think he's overrated, but I still see him in the top 5. And then also I see Breon Ansley and Arash Rabar in the top 3. So my top 3 are Chris Bumstead in first, Breon Ansley in second, and Arash Rabar in third. And then Sadiq is not even going to be in the top 5. But because of politics, you're probably going to see a completely different outcome. But anyway, that's how I think it should go. And we'll just find out. But moving on from that, when it comes to the physique division, I got Ramy winning his 4th title. And this is because he's been looking better than ever this year. I don't really see anyone that's going to push him this year because he's been well ahead of the game for the last few years now. But I also see Ryan Terry probably getting 2nd again, and Andre Ferguson probably getting 3rd again, But that could switch up, Andre could get 2nd, Ryan could get 3rd, but I see those 3 guys in the top 3 this year for the physique division. So now that I got those 2 out of the way, we're going to get to the real shit here, which is the open bodybuilding class. And this is where things get more serious, because these guys actually risk their health like a lot more than everyone else on the stage. And they put a lot more into this shit, in my personal opinion. So I'm going to do the top 10 for the open class here. And for number 10, I got Lionel Beyeke in 10th place. And reason for this is he's got good flow, good symmetry, in good shape. The one thing he doesn't have yet is like that muscle maturity or that grainy conditioning. So that's what's definitely going to hold him back this year. But top 10 for him is solid in my opinion, and I see him barely making the top 10. So in 9th place, I got Josh Lenartowitz. And this guy, in my opinion, he's huge as fuck. He's got good conditioning, but he's not really as aesthetic as some of the other guys. And something about like the chest split in the middle of his chest just kind of like doesn't come at me the right way. Like it just kind of fucks up the aesthetics. But that's all genetic, But he's a great bodybuilder. But just everyone else ahead of him here in my list has just more muscle maturity, and they got more like freaky body parts that just put him ahead of him. But this is a guy that could definitely prove me wrong, and if he got higher than 9th place, I wouldn't be surprised. I know he's pushing hard for his friend Dallas McCarver, RIP, and I would have had that guy in the top 10 too, but fortunately he can't make it. So I got Josh in 9th place, and I'm sure he's going to do well. So in 8th place, I got Roelly Winklaar. And this might be surprising because a lot of people kind of try to overrate him and say he should be Mr. Olympia. And I personally think these people are fucking completely delusional, because they don't understand that to win the show, you have to be complete as fuck. And you can't just have like freaky triceps, freaky arms, and a great most muscular, which he does have. But when it comes to like the lower lats and just conditioning overall, as well as aesthetics and flow, he just doesn't have it at all. And I feel like this year, there's a lot of guys that are going to come out of the woodwork and really step it up this year. So for that reason, I got Roelly in 8th place. Okay, moving on to 7th place, I got William Bonac. Now, this guy surprised a lot of people last year by getting 5th place, and I gotta admit, he looked solid. You know, he looked completely saturated, and he really just filled out his frame in a good way, and it brought him to the top 5. But this year, I think he's just going to bring kind of the same package, and I don't think it's going to be enough to really crack the top 6 this year, especially because you got a couple guys who have made some serious improvements this year who aren't going to let a guy like William surpass them. So if William doesn't bring his fullness and conditioning like he did last year, he's going to be fucked. But I think he will, but it's just not going to be enough because he just doesn't have the aesthetics really to really push the other guys that I have on my list. So unfortunately for him, he's going to take a couple steps backwards this year in my opinion. But this guy, just like Josh, is another guy that could definitely prove me wrong. So we'll just have to wait and see. So moving on, I got Brandon Curry in 6th place. Now, Brandon got like 2nd to last place last year. So that might be a shock to a lot of people that if he actually made it in the top 6, as I am predicting right now. But the thing is, he's won a few pro shows this year. He's at the Oxygen Gym, and he's got all the best drugs and the best program there to just completely just do whatever it takes, you know. So Brandon Curry's probably the most improved bodybuilder of this year, and judging from what I've seen, he's a completely new bodybuilder, and he's gonna knock out a lot of people this year in my opinion. He's gonna surprise a lot of people, and he's gonna be one of the biggest talks of the show. So Brandon Curry, props to him. He's made serious improvements, and I think it's gonna pay off. I think he's gonna crack the top 6. So moving on, I got Cedric McMillan in 5th place. This guy just came off an Arnold win. He got 7th last year, so it seems realistic that, judging by his steady improvements, he would jump up a couple spots. And the thing Cedric has on everyone else is his aesthetics. He's a taller guy, you know, like 6'1", so he's not like stocky bodybuilder like a lot of these other guys. So for him, he's got a lot better aesthetics going on, and he's got the size and the symmetry. So this is really based on his conditioning here. Like, I'm banking on him having better conditioning this time around, and if he does come in shape and looking really dry, then that's how I see him cracking the top 5. So hopefully he cracks the top 5. I'm a fan, definitely a fan of him and his physique. And yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see. You know, it's all for this Cedric. It's all based on conditioning for him. So I see him cracking top 5. He won the Arnold. He's proven he can compete at the highest levels, and that's where I see him at this year. So now we're at the top 4, and this is where things can really get mixed up because you never know what's going to happen in this top 4. And I got Shawn Rhoden in 4th place. And to be honest, it could be Dexter, it could be Shawn. You could really interchange both of these two in my opinion, especially this year. But I'm going to say Shawn's taking 4th just because I feel like Dexter has way more ambition this year. Something about him, he just seems more driven compared to Shawn. And at the press conference, if you saw a look at his face, like, he looks dry as fuck in his face. You can tell he is not here to fuck around. Like, he's trying to take this shit. So that's why I got Shawn a spot behind him. And honestly, Shawn is probably the most aesthetic guy on that stage. If I had to take one of these physiques on the stage for the open class, it'd probably be Shawn Rhoden's. In my opinion, he's more aesthetic than Cedric. And that's when he comes in without a bubble gut, of course. But that's my opinion. So yeah, Shawn Rhoden, I think he's not gonna have the same conditioning as Dexter, and it's gonna definitely hurt him. But he's still like one of the best, so that's why I gave him the 4th spot. So now that we're in the top 3, as no surprise, I got Dexter in 3rd place. And like I said before, this guy is consistent as fuck. He never really disappoints. You always know he's gonna come in shredded as fuck. That's why they call him the Blade, you know. So he's earned that name, and I think he's going to earn it again this year. And this guy really thinks he's going to win it. That's the thing I like about him. He's always got that attitude. He thinks he's actually going to win it every time. And even though he might fall short this year, I'm sure next year he'll come in with the same attitude, and he'll easily crack the top 5 again. So third place for Dexter Jackson makes a lot of sense for me, and that's where I'm going to put him on my list. So moving on, we got probably one of the biggest hype trains in recent years here, and I got Big Ramy in second place. And this guy has been a hype train for years now, who continues to somewhat disappoint people because he never seems to get that perfect balance of size and conditioning. But based off the reports in the past few months and what I've seen online, I know for a fact that Big Ramy is going to bring his all-time best this year. And Big Ramy at his all-time best should be nearly unstoppable. And the reason I say this is there's other big YouTubers out there who have verified this themselves that have said he is at his all-time best right now. So you can only imagine that he's going to do some serious damage, and I can't wait to see what he brings to the stage. I'm sure it's going to be fucking ridiculous. He's going to look like a monster. So Big Ramy's just going to outsize most of the field. He's going to just dwarf everyone for the most part. And that's why I see him in second place. He's been improving every year, so it just makes sense that he goes from fourth place last year up to second this year. Also, he's younger than Shawn and Dexter, so that's also why I see him doing better, because he said he's got more muscle maturity now, and Shawn and Dexter have a higher chance of fading out at this point in their careers. So that's just how I put it, and I hope Big Ramy comes in shredded and he doesn't disappoint. So at the final place here, I got Phil Heath in first place, and this is probably the most predictable prediction you could make for the Olympia. Obviously, like, literally everyone has Phil Heath in first place, and I don't see why they wouldn't either, because he is 6-time Mr. Olympia. He shows no signs of slowing down. And think about Phil is he's just the complete package. Like, there's barely any weaknesses on the guy. Like, he has a pretty bad like, the worst thing you could point out is his abdomen, and beyond that it gets really hard to point out where his weaknesses are, because he has a couple poses like the front lat spread, abs and thigh, and the front double bicep, which aren't the best, but because all of his other poses are so much ahead of the field, it's always lights out. So Phil at 80% could win this show. We all know this. He's got the great genetics, and his only real threat this year, in my opinion, is Big Ramy, if Big Ramy dials it in and comes in at 100%. But because that's not as likely, and because there's politics, which is the most important factor in this whole competition here, I totally see Phil Heath getting his 7th Sandow and tying Arnold for 7 Sandows. 7-time Mr. Olympia. I'm pretty damn sure he's going to bring it again like last year. He showed the confidence at the press conference. So it's just very, very unlikely that he won't win, and I'd be astonished if he didn't. So that's it for this prediction video. Tell me what you guys think, and keep an eye out for the next one.